Okay, so today I'm going to be doing reviews of both of these two books, The Heroes of Olympus, The Lost Hero, book 1 in this series, which I read last year in March and did a review on it then, but I reread it quite recently. And then we're going to talk about book number 2, The Son of Neptune. This is going to be a rather ranting and raving review, much less a standard review, so think of it more as just a chit-chat about the books as opposed to an actual review, because I more want to focus the limited time that I have on discussing my thoughts and feelings to do with these books individually and my thoughts and feelings on these books as a whole for the beginning of this 5-book series. Let's get right into it. So we're going to start off with book number 1, The Heroes of Olympus series, book 1, The Lost Hero by Rick Riordan. So again, as I said in the introduction, I actually read this book in March of last year and I fell in love with this book. I read this before I even knew, I know some of you are going to come for me with this one, but before I even knew that the Percy Jackson series, the original series, actually existed. And then after I finished reading the book, I realized that at the top it actually says here, Return to the Percy Jackson World. I really enjoyed this book when I read it in March last year, and I wanted to commit myself this year to reading the next book because it's been over a year, it's been close to a year and a half, and I still hadn't read book 2. I plan to read book 2 this month, so I thought I'd better reread book number 1. So I'm going to talk to you guys about my thoughts and feelings of my reread this time round, but if you want to check out my original review when I was first starting out on BookTube, and so it's nowhere near as professional as we are these days, then you can do that. I'll link it up in the corner somewhere so you can click on that and check out what I thought the first time I read it. But as for my reread, the rating of this book still holds up to this day. For those of you who don't know, this is a middle grade fantasy. I gave it 5 stars in March of 2020. I still give it 5 stars now. But the things that I liked about this book, I didn't like so much, and the things that I was so about last year, I really loved this time round, so it was a real change for me going into this reread. So I guess I'm going to need to go into a bit of a spoilery detail to discuss that with you guys, but first of all I just want to give you guys a basic premise. So the opening of this series, of The Heroes of Olympus, starts off with us following a guy by the name of Jason who believes that he is human, but he's woken up on a bus somewhere with these students around him and he has no idea how he's got there or what the heck is going on, and then he comes to find out that there is more to him than meets the eye, and that is that he is a demigod. So a demigod is the result of a child that is born that has either a mother or a father as a god, and the other parent that they have is a standard human. So he ends up going away to a camp because there's a situation that unfolds in his human world, and so then he's taken away to a camp known as Camp Half-Blood with two other children who claim that they are his friend, but he doesn't know because he can't remember what the heck's going on, and their names are Piper and Leo. So they arrive at this camp called Camp Half-Blood, which is a camp for demigods, and then they go off on a questing journey. I am not a fan of the traveling/questing trope, but even last year I said I'm not a fan of the traveling/questing trope unless it is done well, and by God, does Rick Riordan do the traveling/questing trope really, really well in the Heroes of Olympus series. Before I go into spoilers, very, very quickly, just to confirm, after reading this book last year, I did go back to the Percy Jackson series because once I realised that that was the original, I thought I would give it a go. I read book 1, I think I gave it 3 stars. I read book 2, I think I gave it 2 stars. And then I just DNF'd the series because it just wasn't working for me. But this book really worked for me, so I always wanted to continue on. Alright, let's go into some very quick spoilers. I'll put timestamps in the description so you can jump around as to when I get onto this one, and then I talk about how I feel the series is going and where I think it's heading in general. So timestamps down there. When I first read this book in March of 2020, I loved Camp Half-Blood so much. And this time, I think because I had read the book, even though it was a year and a half ago, because I had read of Camp Half-Blood, I had kind of gotten over it a little bit. I knew that Piper was going to be claimed by Aphrodite, so I was just waiting for that to happen. I didn't remember who claimed Leo. I did remember who claimed Jason, but I didn't remember who claimed Leo. But I was waiting for Piper to be claimed by Aphrodite and just waiting and waiting and waiting and waiting, and then that finally happened. And the one thing I kind of enjoyed with Camp Half-Blood was Piper's beauty and how she doesn't need to do anything to just always look beautiful. I loved that. Think of the time it saves. But other than that, I just really didn't enjoy Camp Half-Blood. But obviously there needs to be a quest, because with most of the books with Rick Riordan, there needs to be a quest. As I say, he does them well. And when they left Camp Half-Blood, when I read this the first time, I didn't appreciate that because I wanted to stay at Camp Half-Blood. But I still like the book enough to give it 5 stars, don't get me wrong. This time around, I was so happy when we left Camp Half-Blood because I really enjoyed the travelling/questing trope within this book, and everything that Jason, Piper, and Leo go through, I just really enjoyed so much about that quest. And then when they come back and they're welcomed back in as heroes, and Piper takes over being head of the Aphrodite cabin, that went so well. And just, oh my gosh, I just had a blast rereading this book. And it's not often that I reread a book and keep the same rating that I had the first time I read it, but I definitely did with this one. It was just more that I enjoyed the travelling/questing trope so much more than I enjoyed it the first time round. So moving on to book number 2, Heroes of Olympus, the Son of Neptune by Rick Riordan. I thought that this book was going to be the same size as this one, but there is a bit of a difference. That kind of annoys me. Hopefully I'll sort that out at some point soon. Overall thoughts about this book. I had major issues at the beginning of this book. First issue that I had was that we are literally dropped into the middle of a situation that I had no idea what was going on, and I was expected to kind of just try and make my way and catch up. I found out post-reading this book that that is not an unpopular complaint. A lot of people had issues with how Rick Riordan just drops you into the world and expects you to catch up, so I'm glad I wasn't alone with that. But what annoyed me even more was, in this book, as I've already said, we follow Jason, Piper, and Leo. In this book, we don't follow any of them. We follow Percy, Frank, and someone else that I forgot her name, Olivia or something like that. 3 different characters in this book. And a little bit of background information. Apparently, when the OG Percy Jackson original series, OG fans, started reading the Heroes of Olympus series, there were a number of complaints with book 1 because Percy Jackson was not there, and I feel, personally, I could be wrong, but I feel that Rick Riordan bowed to that pressure and then made Percy Jackson the focus of book number 2. If I'm reading a series and I get really invested in characters and those characters aren't in book number 2 when we are continuing on with a series, ooh, that really grinds my gears. And I almost DNF'd this book based on that alone because I wanted more of Jason, Piper, and Leo, especially Leo. I don't know what it is, but I loved Leo. I wanted to see more of Leo, and nada in this book. So I did some research and I found out that book number 3 apparently does feature Jason, Piper, and Leo from book 1, and also the 3 characters we follow from this book. All 6 of them are in book number 3, which is fine, but I'm sure you can understand why it incredibly annoyed me reading this one, having just come off this one and wanting to follow my characters that I love in this one and not finding them in this one. I think the complaints of the OG Percy Jackson, the OG series, OG fans of Percy Jackson were valid. However, in book 1, it's explained what's going on with Percy. But apparently that's not enough. I don't know if that's the direction that Rick Riordan initially intended to go with, but that's where he ended up going with this book, having this book be all about Percy. So basically, the premise of this book is that we follow Percy apparently 6 months after the final book in the original Percy Jackson series. Percy wakes up, has had some amnesia, doesn't really remember a lot, and he ends up at another camp. So Camp Half-Blood is for demigods, and it is a Greek camp, where this camp that he ends up is a Roman camp. That's fine. I appreciated the world building to see the Roman version of Camp Half-Blood. I thought that was great. I thought that was wonderful. And once I got on board with the book itself, and I don't think it's much of a spoiler to say Percy Jackson and 2 others end up going on a quest, just like Piper and Leo and Jason go on a quest in this one. The quest was good. Once I got on board with everything, and once I got over the fact that I wasn't following Piper, Leo, and Jason, I enjoyed the quest aspect of this book, but it did let me down for quite some time that it wasn't a standard continuation from book number 1. Let's go into some spoilers. So in this spoiler section, I just want to bring up one thing really, because then I want to spend the rest of the time focusing on where I think the series is going to go. The prophecy. So there's 7 demigods that are going to save the world. And I pretty much put it together, and I think with my research I was doing because of how disappointed I was with this book, I unintentionally came across who the 7 were. So I don't know if I can say that here because I don't think it's actually revealed in this book, but I wanted to make the point of being mindful of the prophecy, and I'll just call it the prophecy as we continue forward. So the prophecy of the 7 people, and you know what, I'm going to say it. If you don't know who it is, just double tap on your screen and it will skip forward 20 seconds. So our people are Piper, Leo, Jason, Percy, Frank, the other girl we follow in this book, and Annabeth. So they're the 7, and it's fine. I will deal with it. I will deal with... Okay, I can do this spoiler-free. So, jumping back into spoiler-free to talk about where I think the series is going. I didn't spend a lot of time on this book because I just really don't want to. I ended up giving this book 4 stars, which is a really good rating considering just how frustrated I was with this book for the majority of the time. But I just didn't want to spend too much time talking about the book. I wanted to focus more on where I think the series is going. So, there is a prophecy. I can't say what it is in this spoiler-free section, but if you saw the spoilery section, you know what I mean. There is a prophecy that is foretelling what's coming up, and I feel like that's the direction that the series is going to go. The prophecy involves Percy to a degree, and so that makes sense as to why we needed to follow Percy in this book. So I can appreciate Percy and this book from the perspective of the bigger picture, knowing what I know about the prophecy. In saying that, the book overall was good. It's fine now that I know the prophecy, but I just had issues, okay? Why couldn't we have Piper or Leo find Percy and they go on a quest with him so we can somehow have book 1 continue into book 2. Instead, we're really separating things between book 1 and book 2. But anyway, book 3, apparently, and I can say this because I'm just talking characters, book 3 apparently includes Piper, Leo, Jason, and Percy Jackson, all in the one book. So I'm really looking forward to that because I need to get back to my OG characters, okay? I'm not a fan of the original series, but I love this series, and to not have them in this book was heartbreaking. All in all, I think that I am intrigued to carry on with the series because this is the one time where I'm reading a traveling/questing trope that I absolutely love. So I will continue on. I find this series fascinating because I love Greek and Roman mythology, and I love the way that Rick Riordan clearly exceedingly well researched with Greek and Roman mythology so that he could piece and parcel it out throughout the course of this book as well as this one, and I'm sure he'll keep going with book number 3. I think it's knowing what the prophecy is. I think it's going to be interesting to see how book 3 sets us up for the second and final half of the series. So we'll see how we go. I think that you can read this book, and indeed the series as a whole, without reading the Percy Jackson series, because a lot of what Percy Jackson went through in the Percy Jackson original series is actually explained in this book. So there'll be situations that arise where Percy Jackson either has to confirm something or explain something about what he's already done. So I don't feel like you have to read the original series. But I'm enjoying these ones. 5 stars, 4 stars. I recommend them. Do you guys like them? Let me know what you think in the comments section below. But yeah, this was just meant to be a very brief discussion on those 2 books, so that is where I am going to leave it. Remember in the description below that I'm going to have the link for my original review of book number 1 that I did in March of 2020. Please don't judge me too harshly. It was one of the videos I did in only my 3rd month of BookTube, so just keep that in mind. But anyway, that is where I am going to leave it. Before I let you guys go, I just want to give a quick shout out to my Discord service. From buddy reads to advanced screenings and everything else in between, I have a Discord server and I would love for you to join me. I have a link to my Discord server in the description below, so just click away and get started. We'd love to have you over there. But that is where I will leave it. Letting you guys go, peace, blessings, and so much love. I post videos every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, and I'll see you again soon. Mwah. Thank you so much for watching, and happy reading!